Kadena Air Base, Okinawa, 1:09 a.m. Monday. The Taiwan Strait had been at maximum tension for 6 days. The PLA's amphibious fleet, 47 vessels assessed as carrying elements of 3 combined arms brigades, had been conducting what official PLA statements described as a joint island landing exercise in the Strait's southern approaches. 6 days of exercise. The intelligence community's assessment of when the exercise became an operation had been revised upward 3 times in 72 hours. At midnight on Sunday, the Director of National Intelligence had transmitted a single-sentence assessment to the National Security Council. The probability of transition to kinetic operations within the next 12 hours was assessed at above 80%. The PLA's operational planning for a Taiwan contingency had been studied, wargamed, and analyzed for 30 years. One conclusion appeared in every assessment regardless of its author or date. The PLA could not execute a successful strait crossing, while the United States Air Force maintained operational air power at Kadena Air Base. Kadena was the problem. It had been the problem since the Cold War. Its F-15S and F-35AS, operating from a runway 40 minutes flight time from the Taiwan Strait, represented the air superiority architecture that would contest PLAAF control of the airspace, through which PLA Army helicopter formations and airborne units would need to move. Without air superiority over the strait, the amphibious operations logistics tail was exposed. Without Kadena's aircraft, the air superiority problem became manageable. The PLA's approach to the Kadena problem had evolved over 20 years of analysis. A ballistic missile strike sufficient to crater the runway, which had been the primary solution in earlier planning iterations, carried significant escalation risk because it was unambiguous. A runway crater on Kadena was a visible, undeniable act of war that would trigger an immediate U.S. response before any amphibious operation could achieve its objectives. What the PLA's planning staff had developed over the preceding 4 years was a different solution. Not runway craters. Blindness. If Kadena's aircraft could take off but couldn't see, couldn't communicate, couldn't receive targeting data, and couldn't integrate with the broader air defense network, their operational effectiveness was degraded to near zero without a single missile touching the runway. Operation Mingmu, Clear Eyes, in deliberate irony, called for a coordinated cyber and kinetic strike specifically targeting Kadena's command, control, communications, and radar infrastructure, while leaving the runway and aircraft hangars physically intact. The objective was not to prevent aircraft from flying. It was to prevent them from fighting effectively, while the strait crossing achieved its objectives. A 72-hour degradation of Kadena's operational integration would, in the PLA's assessment, be sufficient. The amphibious operation's fastest projected timeline to fait accompli was 58 hours. Kadena blind for 72 hours meant Kadena blind for the duration. The cyber component of Mingmu had been in preparation for 19 months. PLASSF, the PLA Strategic Support Force, had pre-positioned persistent access tools in 17 network nodes connected to Kadena's base communication infrastructure, to the 18th Wing's tactical data systems, and to the AN/TPS-75 radar network's maintenance diagnostic interfaces. The access had been established through supply chain compromise of a third-party maintenance contractor whose software update system had been the intrusion vector. It had been sitting dormant for 14 months, pinging its command server once per week to confirm persistence, never executing any payload that would trigger anomaly detection. At 1:09 a.m., the PLASSF activated the pre-positioned access tools simultaneously across all 17 network nodes. The effect was not immediate system failure. Immediate failure would have been detectable as an attack within seconds and would have triggered backup systems and isolation protocols. What PLASSF had engineered was something more precise. Targeted data corruption in the communication protocols between Kadena's radar systems and its tactical data network, and simultaneous introduction of false data into the Link 16 tactical data system that connected Kadena's aircraft to the broader theater air picture. Aircraft in the air would receive corrupted or false tactical pictures. Ground-based radar systems would show track files that drifted from actual positions by margins too small to trigger immediate alarm, but large enough to degrade weapons employment solutions. The base's communication with PLASSF and with the carrier strike group operating in the Philippine Sea would experience intermittent packet loss that appeared consistent with atmospheric interference rather than active jamming. The 18th Wing's duty intelligence officer at Kadena detected the first anomaly at 1:11 a.m., 2 minutes after the PLASSF activation. A Link 16 data stream from the E-3 Sentry AWACS, orbiting at 30,000 feet over the East China Sea, was showing position data that was inconsistent with the AWACS's known orbit. The discrepancy was 340 meters, small enough that a less experienced operator might have attributed it to GPS drift. This officer had been in the role for 16 months. He flagged it immediately and began cross-checking against the base's backup VHF communication link to the AWACS. The AWACS crew confirmed their actual position. The Link 16 data was corrupted. He initiated the base's cyber incident protocol at 1:13 a.m. The cyber incident protocol at Kadena was a 14-step procedure that had been written, revised, and exercised specifically in the context of a Taiwan contingency cyber threat scenario. Step 1. Isolate affected network segments. Step 2. Switch to backup communication architecture. Step 3. Notify PLASSF and Indopacom. Step 4. Activate the base's standalone tactical air picture system, which operated on a physically separate network not connected to any external data links. By 1:16 a.m., 7 minutes after the PLASSF activation, Kadena's duty team had completed steps 1 through 3. The base had isolated its compromised network segments and was transitioning to backup systems. The cyber component of Mingmu had a 7-minute operational window before detection. 7 minutes was not 72 hours. At 1:17 a.m., the kinetic component of Mingmu activated. 8 DF-17 hypersonic glide vehicles launched from Fujian province, specifically targeted at the 4AN/TPY-2 radar installations on Okinawa that provided the early warning and missile defense tracking architecture for the entire southern Japan region. The DF-17 targeting was not the runway. It was the eyes. Each radar installation had been precisely catalogued. Its exact position, its antenna orientation, its power infrastructure, its backup generator location, in satellite imagery collected over 4 years of systematic reconnaissance. Each DF-17 had been assigned a specific radar as its sole aim point. 8 DF-17s, 4 radar installations, 2 hypersonic vehicles per target. ESP detected the DF-17 launches at 1:17 a.m. Alert reached Kadena, Indopacom, and the 7th Fleet Carrier Strike Group simultaneously. Flight time from Fujian province to Okinawa for a DF-17 on a depressed trajectory, approximately 9 minutes. Kadena's duty team had 9 minutes from detection to first impact. The cyber incident protocol was still in progress. The base's air defense officer transmitted a flash priority alert to the 7th Fleet at 1:17 a.m. and authorized emergency aircraft dispersal, getting as many aircraft airborne and away from the base as possible before the DF-17s arrived. 10 F-15Cs launched in 5 minutes. 6 F-35As were airborne before the first DF-17 reached its terminal phase. The runway was about to become a target. The aircraft were not going to be on it. At Yokosuka, the USS Ronald Reagan's Aegis combat system had been tracking the DF-17 launches since 1:17 a.m. The Reagan was 480 miles northeast of Okinawa, at the outer edge of its SM-3 Block 2, a engagement geometry for the DF-17's specific trajectory and terminal phase altitude. The SM-3 Block 2A is optimized for exo-atmospheric intercept of conventional ballistic trajectories. Against the DF-17's boost glide profile, transitioning from ballistic boost to maneuvering hypersonic glide at approximately 60 to 80 kilometers altitude. The intercept geometry was degraded. The Reagan's tactical action officer assessed an engagement probability of 45 to 55% per interceptor against the DF-17's profile at maximum range. She launched 4 SM-3s at the 2 highest threat tracks. The mathematics were unfavorable. She launched anyway. 1 intercept confirmed. The other 3 guided but failed terminal phase lock against the maneuvering glide vehicles. The THAAD battery at Kadena engaged the 7 surviving DF-17 tracks at 1:24 a.m. The battery had been at elevated alert since the Taiwan Strait tension had reached its current level 3 days earlier. Its engagement parameters had been updated 8 months prior, the same reconfiguration that had appeared in previous scenarios, to address the DF-17's boost glide transition geometry. 4 THAAD intercepts confirmed. 3 DF-17 warheads survived to PAC 3 MSE engagement range. PAC 3 MSE engaged all 3. 2 intercepted. 1 DF-17 warhead impacted the AN/TPY 2 radar installation at Yomatan at 1:26 a.m. The installation's antenna array and power infrastructure were rendered non-functional. The radar went dark. Its coverage sector, the northwestern approach vector to Okinawa, went dark with it. 1 radar installation. 1 coverage gap. Not 4 installations gone. Not the 72-hour blindness Mingmu had required, but a real gap. 22 degrees of approach azimuth uncovered in the theater air picture. In a moment when the Taiwan Strait situation was at maximum tension. In the Indopacom Command Center at Camp HM, Smith, the Mingmu pattern had been identified at 1:19 a.m., 2 minutes after the DF-17 launches and 6 minutes after the cyber incident report from Kadena. The pattern was specific, a cyber operation against tactical data networks combined with a precision kinetic strike against radar infrastructure. This was not a prelude to a larger strike. This was the strike. Its objective was not damage. It was degradation. The Indopacom commander's assessment at 1:21 a.m., Mingmu was the preparation phase for a Taiwan Strait crossing attempt within the next 12 to 18 hours. The 80% probability assessment from midnight had just become a 97% assessment. The pre-authorized response protocol transmitted at 1:22 a.m. Designation: JADE Sentinel. Not a strike against Taiwan Strait amphibious forces. That decision required presidential authorization that was being sought simultaneously. JADE Sentinel's specific scope: the PLASSF cyber infrastructure that had executed the Mingmu network intrusion, the DF-17 launch infrastructure in Fujian province, and the PLA reconnaissance satellite ground stations, whose downlink data had been feeding DF-17 targeting solutions. 43 aim points across 29 installations. Authority: pre-delegated to Indopacom for this specific scenario type. It had been pre-delegated because the response window was measured in minutes, not hours. IA-18G Growler aircraft from the Reagan Air Wing had been airborne since 1 a.m. on elevated electronic surveillance posture. At 1:22 a.m., they received JADE Sentinel tasking for their electronic attack component. The PLASSF command nodes in Fujian province that had activated the Mingmu cyber tools were radiating specific command and control emissions that the Growlers had been monitoring for 11 minutes. The Growler jamming would not undo the intrusion already executed. It would prevent PLASSF from issuing follow-on commands to any remaining dormant access tools in networks they had not yet activated. The jamming began at 1:29 a.m. The PLASSF command frequencies went silent from the U.S. electronic warfare perspective within 3 minutes. U.S. Cybercom had been in its own preparation since 1:13 a.m., the moment Kadena's cyber incident alert reached its watch floor. U.S. Cybercom's pre-positioned offensive cyber capabilities against PLASSF network infrastructure had been held in reserve specifically for a Taiwan contingency escalation scenario. At 1:22 a.m., with JADE Sentinel authority transmitted, U.S. Cybercom executed its counter-intrusion package against the 17 PLASSF command and control nodes that had been identified through the preceding 19 months of attribution work on the Mingmu intrusion infrastructure. The package did not merely block the existing access. It used the same supply chain compromise pathway the PLASSF had used as an entry point, traversed back through it, and introduced a persistent denial payload into the PLASSF's own maintenance diagnostic systems. The same technique, the same vector, reversed. At 1:31 a.m., 8 PLASSF network nodes went non-responsive to their command infrastructure. The remaining 9 were isolated by their own security protocols when the anomalous traffic pattern triggered automatic containment. The Mingmu cyber tool network was no longer receiving commands from any PLASSF node. The tools that had been activated at 1:09 a.m. were still running in their targeted network segments. U.S. Cybercom's counter-intrusion had not yet fully purged them, but no new commands could reach them, and Kadena's network isolation protocols had already contained their operational effect to the segments identified in the first 7 minutes. 4 B-1B Lancer bombers from Andersen Air Force Base on Guam had been on elevated alert since the Taiwan Strait tension reached its current level. At 1:22 a.m., all 4 received JADE Sentinel strike packages. Combined JSSM-ER payload, 96 missiles. Their targets: the DF-17 launch infrastructure in Fujian province, the PLASSF cyber command facility near Fuzhou that had hosted the Mingmu command servers, and the PLA reconnaissance satellite downlink station at Jianshan, whose real-time imagery had provided the targeting data for the 8 DF-17s. By minute 16 from the DF-17 launches, U.S. offensive assets were moving toward 43 aim points. The Reagan's Air Wing had 2 additional EA-18G Growlers airborne and 4 F-35C aircraft launched on strike escort missions at 1:33 a.m. The F-35C aircraft's stealth profile would allow them to accompany the JAS SMER strike package without requiring SEAD suppression of Chinese coastal air defenses, their low observable signature making them effectively transparent to the Type 346 AESA radars, guarding the Fujian coast at medium altitude. HARM anti-radiation missiles launched from F/A-18F aircraft at 1:35 a.m., targeting active Chinese coastal early warning radars along the strike approach corridor. 7 launches, 5 achieved guidance lock on active emitters, 2 guided on decoy systems. A second HARM pair was tasked and launched using updated Growler geolocation data, both guided accurately. The JASSM-ER first wave reached Fujian province at 1:44 a.m., 35 minutes after the DF-17 launches. The DF-17 launch infrastructure in the province, the transporter erector launcher's pre-surveyed firing positions, the survey marker infrastructure, the reload missile storage facilities, the propellant storage, and the command relay stations, received JAS-SMER engagement across 21 aim points between 1:44 and 1:58 a.m. The mobile launchers had displaced after firing. Their support infrastructure had not. 19 of 21 aim points confirmed engaged. 2 aim points in terrain-masked positions required reassignment. The PLASSF Cyber Command Facility near Fuzhou received JAS-SMER engagement at 1:47 a.m. 3 missiles assigned to the facility's primary building, backup power infrastructure, and satellite uplink terminal. All 3 impacted within their assigned aim point polygons. The facility that had hosted the Mingmu command servers ceased to function as an operational node. The command servers had already been rendered inert by U.S. Cybercom's counter-intrusion package 22 minutes earlier. The kinetic engagement ensured their physical non-reconstitution. The Jianshan satellite downlink station received JASSM-ER engagement at 1:49 a.m. 5 missiles assigned to the station's antenna farm, signal processing building, and backup communication links. 4 confirmed impacts. 1 JASSMER experienced a terminal seeker acquisition failure against the signal processing building. The building's radar-absorbing facade material had degraded the seeker's lock in the final approach phase. The failure was logged, and a second JASSMER from reserve tasking was assigned. It impacted at 1:53 a.m. The Jianshan station's ability to receive and process PLA reconnaissance satellite data for DF-17 targeting went non-functional at 1:53 a.m. Any future DF-17 launch from Fujian province targeting Okinawa would be operating without the real-time satellite imagery update that had made the Mingmu attack's precision possible. The DF-17 was still a capable weapon. It had become a less capable one at 1:41 a.m., 32 minutes after the DF-17 launches. The adversary attempted its contingency. PLA Southern Theater Command had been monitoring the JADE Sentinel response since its first elements became visible at 1:29 a.m. when the Growler jamming activated. The Theater Command's contingency for a U.S. counterstrike against Fujian DF-17 infrastructure was a reserve battery of 6 DF-17 Itai pre-positioned in Zhejiang province, north of Fujian, outside the assessed primary strike corridor, targeted at the Reagan Carrier Strike Group. The reserve battery commander received his activation order at 1:39 a.m. via a backup satellite communication system that had not been affected by the Growler jamming. He began launch preparation at 1:39 a.m. DF-17 preparation time, 14 minutes. An RQ-170 Sentinel, orbiting at 62,000 feet over the East China Sea, had been monitoring the Zhejiang province area since 11 p.m. Its sensor feed, showing the reserve battery's launcher activation, reached the JADE Sentinel coordination cell at 1:41 a.m. The cell designated the battery as immediate priority at 1:42 a.m. 8J ASSMER missiles from a B-1B that had completed its primary Fujian strike package were retasked via data link. 5 of the 8 successfully received updated coordinates before their retasking windows closed. The 5 retasked JASSM-ERs reached the Zhejiang Reserve Battery at 1:51 a.m. The DF-17 launchers were at 12 minutes into their 14-minute preparation sequence. 2 launchers had reached ready status. The JASSM-ER impacts at 1:51 a.m. disabled the battery's command vehicle and 3 of the 6 launchers. The 2 ready launchers were intact and had received launch authorization from the Theater Command at 1:50 a.m., 1 minute before the JASSMER impacts. They launched at 1:51 a.m., 4 seconds before the first JASSMER impact. 2 DF-17 hypersonic glide vehicles from the Zhejiang Reserve. Launched without the Jianshan station's targeting data, that facility had gone offline at 1:53 a.m., 2 minutes after the launch. But the targeting solution had been uploaded before the station's degradation. Launched against the Reagan Carrier Strike Group, which had been maneuvering at maximum speed since 1:22 a.m. when JADE Sentinel activated, increasing the distance between its last known position and its actual position at 1:51 a.m. Espers detected the 2 launches at 1:51 a.m. The Reagan's Tactical Action Officer launched 4 SM-3 Block 2A interceptors at 1:52 a.m. against both tracks. 2 SM-3 intercepts confirmed. The DF-17S were neutralized at exo-atmospheric altitude. The Reagan sustained no damage. At 1:50 a.m., 41 minutes after the first DF-17 launches at 1:09 a.m., the JADE Sentinel battle management system showed 39 of 43 aim points confirmed engaged. The 4 remaining aim points, the 2 terrain-masked DF-17 positions and 2 secondary PLASSF relay nodes, were under reassignment. All would be engaged by 2:04 a.m. At Kadena, The network isolation and restoration protocol had been running since 1:13 a.m. By 1:44 a.m., the 18th Wing's cyber response team had purged the PLASSF intrusion tools from 12 of the 17 compromised network nodes and had restored clean data streams to the base's primary tactical data systems. The Link 16 data corruption that had been the cyber attack's primary payload was resolved in the base's primary network by 1:51 a.m. The AN/TPY-2 radar installation at Yomitan, the single radar that had been physically impacted by the one DF-17 warhead that had reached its target, remained non-operational. Its coverage sector remained dark. Emergency procedures had redistributed radar coverage responsibility to adjacent installations to partially compensate. The gap was real. It was smaller than Mingmu had required. Final JADE Sentinel weapon impact logged at 2:04 a.m., 55 minutes after the Mingmu cyber activation, and 47 minutes after the first DF-17 launch. Time from DF-17, launch detection, to first U.S. offensive action, 13 minutes. Time from DF-17 launch to final JADE Sentinel weapon impact, 47 minutes. Time from Mingmu cyber activation to Kadena network restoration on primary systems, 42 minutes. PLA DF-17 launches. Primary strike, 8. Intercepted, 7. 87.5%. Radar installations impacted, 1 of 4 targeted. AN/TPY-2 at Yomitan. Non-operational, estimated restoration 18 to 24 hours. PLA DF-17 launches. Reserve strike 2. Intercepted, 2. 100%. Reagan strike group damage, 0. PLASSF cyber intrusion. Network nodes compromised, 17. Nodes purged by Kadena response team by Operation End, 14. Nodes rendered non-functional by U.S. Cybercom counter-intrusion, 8. Mingmu operational window before detection, 7 minutes of 72-hour objective. Objective achieved, 0.97% of planned duration. JADE Sentinel aim points engaged, 43. Confirmed neutralized by Operation End, 41 of 43, 95.3%. DF-17 launch infrastructure in Fujian, 19 of 21 aim points. PLASSF cyber command facility, non-functional. Jianshan satellite downlink station, non-functional. Zhejiang reserve battery, neutralized after partial launch. U.S. munitions expended, $487 million. PLA military and intelligence infrastructure replacement value assessed, lost, $2.8 to $3.6 billion. Exchange ratio, approximately 1 to 6.4. Operation Mingmu had been built on a precise calculation. Not the calculation of overwhelming force. The PLA had learned from previous analyses that overwhelming force against U.S. carrier groups and air bases invited a response it could not sustain. Mingmu's calculation was surgical. Degrade one specific capability, the integration of Kadena's air power into the theater air picture for one specific duration, 72 hours. The calculation required the cyber component to run undiscovered for hours before the kinetic component created the physical gap. The cyber component had run for 7 minutes. The kinetic component had destroyed 1 of 4 targeted radars instead of 4. The 72-hour degradation window had become a 42-minute disruption. The duty intelligence officer at Kadena, who had detected the Link 16 anomaly at 1:11 a.m., had been in his role for 16 months. His detection had compressed Mingmu's operational window from the 72 hours the PLA had planned to the 42 minutes it achieved. The difference between those two numbers was the Taiwan Strait crossing timeline. The PLA's amphibious fleet in the strait had a 58-hour window requirement. Mingmu's 72-hour degradation would have covered it. Kadena's 42-minute disruption did not. The window that Mingmu had been designed to open had been closed before it had fully formed. 41 minutes after the DF-17 launches, Kadena's primary tactical data systems were clean. Its aircraft were airborne. Its radar gap was real, but partially compensated. The 18th wing was degraded. It was not blind. The PLA's amphibious fleet in the Taiwan Strait was still in the strait. The 80% plus probability assessment of a crossing attempt had not changed. What had changed was the calculation that had been designed to make that attempt viable. Mingmu had been the load-bearing assumption of the crossing's timeline. The assumption had not survived 7 minutes of detection, followed by 41 minutes of response. The crossing timeline would need to be recalculated. Some calculations, once revised, do not produce a viable answer.